Let's bring in Senator Josh Hawley and find out how he feels about all this. Senator, so many moving parts. Your sense of where this whole conflict is going?
Well, I think Iran is in a really tough spot here, entirely of their own making. They're not used to having a president who doesn't try to bribe them with stuff like Obama did or kowtow to them and give them freebies like Biden did. They've got a president here who puts America first, who's going to do what's in America's best interests. And I think Trump's been really clear. Iran's not going to get a nuke, so they can either come to the table and surrender their nuclear program freely, peaceably, as Trump is offering, or they can face Israel on their own.
Do you think there's a danger of not allowing Israel to finish the job? This will be all for naught unless they can get rid of the entire nuclear program. That includes Fordo.
I think that President Trump, I trust him on this. I think he has handled this situation very, very deftly. And my view is that he's going to continue to put America's security interests first. He's given Israel a lot of space to protect themselves, which is what they're doing, to put their security interests, make sure that Israel sees to its own security interests. I think that's entirely appropriate. And I think the president here is continuing to be consistent, saying Iran's not getting a nuke. And if Iran wants to come to the table and surrender their nuclear program, the United States is here to help that. Otherwise, Iran is not going to get any cover from the United States. We're not going to bail them out of this. We're not going to protect them like previous American presidents, frankly, have done.
Here's what the president said a short time ago to a reporter when asked.
What specifically is better than a ceasefire? What are you looking for here?
An end, a real end, not a ceasefire. An end.
So something that would be permanent.
Yeah, or giving up entirely. That's okay too.
Is that possible in the next 24
Why not?
hours?
Certainly possible. Complete give up. That's possible.
So that's not the tone the president had a few days ago. I think he's fed up. And if they're going to sit down with this president, it's not going to be talking about the white paper. It's going to be very simple. Disarm, no enrichment, show me exactly what you were doing, because you can no longer do it if you want to stay in power.
Yeah, exactly right. I think that's exactly right. This has been the president's consistent position, which is that they've got an opportunity here. If they want to if they're willing peaceably to give up their nuclear program, if they're willing to come to the table, then the United States is ready to make that happen. If they're not going to do that, then, good luck to them. I mean, they're on their own. The United States is not going to bail them out of anything anymore. This is not a president who's going to send pallets of cash to Iran like Obama did. This is an American president who's going to see to America's interests and who's going to stand by our allies.
So, Senator, I know people are looking at this right now saying this is not our fight. Here we are in the Middle East again. But there's some stats that might push back against that. For example, at the very minimum, talking to a lot of officials as well as our brain room, Iran has directly killed 603 Americans. When it comes to the post-war, the post-invasion, and our expedition in Iraq, part of the reason we had trouble in Iraq is because Iran was there, where they were responsible for 17% of all American deaths. They also have never been forced to pay for the deaths of the Marines, of 241 Marines in the 1980s, and the Khobar Towers deaths that killed in double figures in 1996. How many more signals do we need to get before we realize they are our enemy and they are our problem too?
Well, they're certainly not our friend. I mean, I think that's pretty clear, Brian, and all the numbers, the stats the data you've just put out there. And I would say I don't think it's so much about us getting involved in the Mideast. I think this is about the President of the United States saying that we're going to secure this country. We're going to stand by our ally. Iran has an opportunity here to do the right thing, to give up their nuclear program peacefully. That's what the president has pushed for. If they don't do that, I mean, I think what the president said is, listen, you're not getting a nuke. I mean, that's just the end of the story. You're not getting a nuke. We can't allow that. We're not going to have it. So it's Iran's call.
Senator, real quick on Medicaid, are you pleased with the way the Senate is handling negotiations on the big, beautiful bill when it comes to Medicaid, which means so much to you and your constituents in Missouri?
You know, we've got to protect rural hospitals, Brian, I will say. I'm glad that there are no Medicaid benefit cuts. That's good. That's what the president said. We need to make sure rural hospitals are protected. But the most important thing in this big, beautiful bill that we need to get to the president's desk are the big, beautiful tax cuts for working people. No taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, a child tax cut. We need to deliver that tax relief to the American people ASAP.
All right, Senator, thanks for kicking us off. I appreciate it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.